A lot of things have happened since Colorado won that opening game against TCU. And one of those being that NFL, well, let me not say NFL people, but it probably has to do with some NFL people. But mock drafts of the 2024 NFL draft are already out, and none other than Shedeur Sanders is listed in the top 10. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victor Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload all the time. Now, I was, moseying about my day, and I got this little notification because I still get notifications from Bleacher Report. It's one of my favorite places that come with stats, notifications, little instant articles, or whatever. And I got an interesting one. It said, Bleacher Report putting out their 2024 NFL mock draft right before the start of the season. So essentially, they're talking about who they think are the best players in college football and also who they think will be the worst teams in the NFL. So I'm moseying on through. I'm reading it. I'm looking, and I'm going to just show you what I saw, right? And so for context, my favorite team is the Las Vegas Raiders, by the way. Like, that's my favorite team. That's my team. We're not that good. It is what it is. We haven't been good for a very long time. My favorite team is the Raiders. I root for the Eagles. I like the Eagles as well, but my team is the Raiders. And so, therefore, this is why they sent me this, I bet. So, NF 2024 NFL mock draft, BR, meaning Bleacher Report, NFL scouting department, initial picks heading into the season. As we know, the NFL season starts this week. And so, let me go ahead and exit that out. So, of course, they got Caleb Williams going number 1, Arizona. They think the Texans will be really bad, and the Arizona Cardinals own the Texans pick. So they think Marvin Harrison and Caleb Williams 1-2. That'd be nasty for Arizona if they're able to get the number 1 and the number 2 pick. Really, really good for them. And so I'm scrolling. See 3, the Colts with an offensive lineman. 4, Drake May. A lot of people really love him. I think he might be a little bit overrated. But nonetheless, 5, the Rams getting an edge rush from Alabama. 6, the Titans getting a tackle from Georgia. We're scrolling. 7, and Jared Verse is actually really good. Chicago, if they end up with him, that'd be awesome. But it was the number 8 pick. And as we scroll on along, and look at who comes in at number 8 to my Las Vegas Raiders. None other than Shedeur freaking Sanders of Colorado. Let's read what they have to say. They said Colorado's quarterback Shedeur Sanders set the football landscape ablaze when he threw the program's record 510 yards in his first FBS start and helped lead the underdog Bulldogs past the TCU Horned Frogs. To be clear, Sanders was a standout at the FCS level prior to following his father to the Pac-12 conference. Also, his slotting in this projection isn't based solely on his week 1 performance, though it certainly opened some eyes. Quote, with the QB3 spot up for grabs, Sanders has made a good case as any in week 1 that it should be him, Klassen said. The FCS transfer is a quality athlete, but his creativity and ball placement took center stage versus TCU. Sanders made a number of clutch throws from outside the pocket and flashed some nice flexibility in his arm. Quote, a lot of ball is left to be played before the QB3 is decided in this class. Keep that in mind. But Sanders is certainly in the conversation. The Las Vegas Raiders may not be the obvious fit. However, Jimmy Garoppolo's injury history and Aiden O'Connell's unproven status keep the quarterback position on the table. And let's not forget what also keeps this on the table for the Raiders specifically that was brought to my attention. I don't know what the heck is going on there. But what also makes the Raiders specifically interesting in the case of Shedeur Sanders is, as some of you know, his connection with Tom Brady. If you don't know, Tom Brady is a minority owner in the Las Vegas Raiders. So wouldn't it make a ton of sense? And don't forget, Shedeur also said after his record-setting performance, a performance where I think he set 9 school records against TCU, 9, including the most passing yards ever in one game. Tom Brady texted him and said, don't be satisfied. And so you add that extra layer of connection, it makes the Raiders really appealing to draft a Shedeur Sanders. Because let's be real. I mean, I'm a Raiders fan, so I can talk to you about the Raiders. 1, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to last the entire season. 2, Aiden O'Connell is not going to be the next starting quarterback of the Raiders. That's no disrespect to Aiden. He could possibly be a really good starting quarterback. It's just not going to be him. The next starting quarterback of the Raiders is coming in the 2024 NFL draft. Who that may be, I don't know. But it makes a lot of sense and is lining up to it potentially being Shedeur Sanders. Now let's get back to Shedeur. So Shedeur, this is a mock draft. And as we know, every mock draft is wrong every single year. So we can't put too much stock into the mock draft. Also, you have to remember that Shedeur technically still has another year eligibility left, and Travis has to come back to school. So you got to factor that in. I think Shedeur declaring for the draft, I'm going to say it here now in September, I think it's all dependent on how many games Colorado wins. Colorado wins 8 or more games, he will more than likely be a top 10 pick, and he will come out for the draft. If Colorado only wins, let's call it 6 games, say if week 1 was just a great performance, but then they drop a couple here, end up only winning 6 games. Like I said preseason, I thought they would only win 6 games. After watching that last game, you kind of have to reevaluate that, but I'm still, I'm just got to stick by my preseason prediction. Say if they go 6-6, it was a good performance in week 1, but they struggle with some of these other conference games because the Pac-12 was loaded, by the way. Pac-12 went undefeated this week, by the way. First week of college football. Say they only win 6 games. They win less than 8 games, or even if they go 7-5, I think Shedeur still will be a first-round pick, but I think he'll come back. And here's why I think he'll come back and play his senior year. 1, it'll be the second year under his father at Colorado, and they'll have a better team. Just naturally, they'll have a better team. 2, you also exhaust your eligibility with Travis. Travis has to come back. He's only a true sophomore. You could potentially come back. And now you guys, instead of being a top 25 team in the country with the next level of recruiting, because Prime's going to recruit his tail off, especially if he mess around and win 7 games. He's going to recruit like crazy. We know, he's a talented recruiter. That's his best attribute as a coach, is his motivational speaking and his recruiting. And so he's going to get even better players in there. Who knows how good they'll be in the Big 12. And 3, if he decides to come back, we're not talking about a QB3 spot that he'll be fighting for. We're talking about a QB1 spot, which typically determines the number 1 overall pick. Who would be a better draft prospect than Shedeur in the 25 draft at quarterback? The only better draft prospect, period. As of right now, of course, that's not to say people won't emerge, but as of right now would be his teammate, Travis. So you wouldn't be fighting for a QB3 spot, a potential top 10, top 15 pick spot. You'd be fighting for a number 1 overall pick spot. And that's why I don't think he'll come out. Now, Colorado, once again, this is all predicated on if they, to me, how many games they win. But if they win less than 8 games, he's going back to Colorado, and then he'll be fighting with Travis for the number 1 overall spot, not a QB3 spot. Because the NFL people have kind of already have their top 2 guys in their brain. Caleb's number 1 as far as quarterbacks, and Drake May's number 2. And guys like Shedeur, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Quinn Ewers, they're all fighting for QB3. Well, that next year, all of those guys have exhausted all their eligibility. Spencer Rattler exhausted all his eligibility. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, all those guys will have to come out. The only one worth talking about that could potentially still have some eligibility is Quinn Ewers, but he don't even look that good, and he's got Arch Manning behind him. He might not even be in, at Texas next year. Shedeur will be fighting for a number 1 overall pick selection, and that would be amazing. That would be a hell of a feather in the cap of Deion Sanders, who I think, as much as they talk about him potentially being an NFL coach, he's a college coach. He can't go to the pros and do what he does. His best attribute is his recruiting and his speaking ability. And that's not to say you can't speak and get grown men in the NFL hype, but he's even said it. It's just tough when it's an actual job, when you're actually getting paid millions of dollars to play football versus a guy who, some of those guys, this will be their last year ever playing ball. And you can't recruit in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't, you can recruit somewhat, but you got draft picks. You lean on, general managers and scouts and all kinds of other different decision makers. In college, the head coach is the end all be all. And how Deion likes to put his fingerprints on everything, it's kind of hard to do that in the NFL. It's very difficult to do that in the NFL. Whereas he can do that in college. He can dictate every single thing in college. And that is why I think Shedeur stays for a senior year, and him and Travis both go into the 25 NFL draft, knocking on wood, barring any injuries, as fighting for the number 1 overall pick. But to see Shedeur, after one game at Colorado, jump from who I always said this thing at Colorado, it wasn't about Shedeur. For anybody who's watched my platform, Shedeur's been a pro. Like, he's been a pro. I've always said he was an NFL quarterback. It's just about how high in the draft would he go. I thought by the end of last year, he had cemented himself as a late first round pick, early second. And once the whole Colorado transition happened, I said at this point, he's just fighting for positioning. How high can he raise what I thought was a late first round quarterback last year? How high can he raise that in year 1? And is that high enough for him to declare? And then if not, how high can he raise that in year 2? Well, it looks like the NFL guys already believe he's raised it high enough to be a top 10 pick. Now, it's still a lot of season left. They still have, 11 games left and potentially a 13th in a bowl game or a conference championship or whatever. So it's a whole lot of season left, and there's still guys that are going to emerge. But, man, that is a hell of a jump from nobody talking to him about, in the first round, besides guys like me and guys that watch, SWAC football, HBCU football, to now legit publications putting him in the top 10 of this upcoming draft. It's pretty impressive, Shedeur. Pretty impressive. Not to mention the big NIL boost that they believe that he just had, all while getting over 7 million, all while over 7 million people tuned in to that game, the second highest watched game this opening weekend for college football. Pretty impressive for Shedeur in Colorado. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Shedeur Sanders predicted by Bleacher Report to go in the top 10 of the 2024 NFL draft. Is that too high, too low, too much, too soon? Let me know in the comments. My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload all the time. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.